Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance. The first one is titled, "My girlfriend gave my savings to her brother. I froze our joint account. Here I am. I need to tell you about how my girlfriend of 3 years betrayed my trust and almost derailed my entire financial future, and how I finally stood up for myself. I'm Kale, 29, and I work as an IT project manager in the West Coast. I met Janice, 27, at a friend's housewarming party back in 2020. She was smart, funny, and worked as a kindergarten teacher. We clicked immediately over our shared love of hiking and terrible reality TV shows. Things moved pretty quickly after that. Within 6 months, we were practically living together at my apartment. By our 1-year anniversary, we'd officially moved in together and started talking about our future. I should probably give you some background about Janice's relationship with her brother Kent. Growing up, it was just the two of them and their parents in a small town outside Portland. Their dad worked 2 jobs to keep them comfortable, and their mom was a devoted homemaker who treated her kids like they hung the moon. Janice told me stories about how Kent was the golden child growing up. Captain of the debate team, straight-A student, always charming the adults with his big ideas and bigger personality. He was one of those kids everyone assumed would go on to do great things. Kent was always able to talk people into things, Janice would say proudly. He's always been so charismatic, so full of dreams. But something changed after high school. While Janice went off to college to pursue her teaching degree, Kent drifted. He started, but never finished 3 different degree programs. He'd get excited about a new career path, convince their parents to help fund his latest venture, then lose interest as soon as things got challenging. College just isn't for everyone, Janice would defend him. Kent's more of an entrepreneur type. He thinks outside the box. Their parents' retirement fund took quite a hit funding Kent's entrepreneurial spirit. First, it was a car detailing business that failed because Kent spent more time designing business cards than actually detailing cars. Then it was an organic smoothie shop that closed after 3 months because Kent couldn't be bothered to show up consistently to manage it. Each time a venture failed, Janice was there to pick up the pieces. She'd help him move back home, lend him money for bills, listen to his endless plans for the next big thing. It was a pattern that started long before I came into the picture. "You don't understand," she told me early in our relationship, after lending Kent $3,000 for some online trading course. When we were kids, Kent was always there for me. He protected me from bullies, helped me with my homework, made me feel safe when our parents were fighting. I owe him. I tried to point out that protecting your little sister from bullies in middle school doesn't create a lifetime debt, but Janice wouldn't hear it. In her mind, Kent was still that golden boy who could do no wrong, and she was still the adoring little sister who believed in him completely. Their parents weren't much help. After decades of enabling Kent's behavior, they'd convinced themselves that he was just too special for ordinary work, that his unique genius would eventually find its path. Meanwhile, they'd blown through their savings and were now living primarily on Social Security, still letting Kent live in their basement rent-free. "He's going through a rough patch," their mom would say. "He just needs support until his next opportunity works out." These rough patches had been going on for over a decade by the time I met Janice, but pointing that out only made her defensive. Kent had some kind of hold over her that I couldn't understand, a mixture of childhood loyalty, guilt, and misplaced faith that clouded her judgment whenever he was involved. Other than that, though, Janice was everything I thought I wanted in a partner. She was great with kids, obviously, could make me laugh even on my worst days, and seemed to share my values about building a stable future together. We talked about marriage, buying a house, starting a family, all the usual stuff couples dream about. About a year and a half into our relationship, we decided to open a joint savings account. The plan was to save for a house down payment. We both agreed to put in a fixed amount each month, plus any bonuses or extra income we could spare. "This is a big step," I remember saying as we sat at the bank, filling out the paperwork. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Janice squeezed my hand. "Of course! We're building our future together, right? This is just the first step." Looking back, there were some red flags I probably should have noticed. Janice was always a bit loose with money. She'd spend $200 on classroom supplies without blinking, but stress about paying her car insurance. She had a habit of lending money to friends and family, often without any real plan for getting it back. "They're good for it," she'd say whenever I expressed concern. "Family helps family." Once again, when looking at the biggest problem, there was her brother, Kent. One month it was cryptocurrency trading, the next it was drop shipping business, Then it was some multi-level marketing thing selling essential oils. Kent just needs to find his path. Janice would continue to defend him. He's really smart, he just hasn't found his calling yet. What Kent had actually found was a talent for getting into financial trouble and guilt-tripping his sister into bailing him out. I lost count of how many times Janice lent him just a little money to tide him over. "It's my money," she'd say whenever I tried to discuss it. "I can help my brother if I want to." Fair enough, it was her money. But our joint savings? That was different. We had clear agreements about that account. It was for our future home, period. We both had to agree on any withdrawals, and we'd set up the account to require both our signatures for any major transactions. Or so I thought. The day I discovered what Janice had done started like any other Tuesday. I was having my morning coffee and doing my monthly budget review. Yeah, I'm one of those people who actually tracks their expenses. I logged into our joint account to check our progress toward our down payment goal. That's when I saw it. A withdrawal of $25,000 made 3 days ago. I blinked hard, thinking I must be seeing things wrong. But no, there it was, in black and white. $25,000 gone. More than half of what we'd saved over the past year and a half. My hands were shaking as I called the bank. "Yes, sir," the representative said after verifying my identity. "That withdrawal was made in person by Miss Janice on Saturday." But that account requires both signatures for large withdrawals," I sputtered. "I'm showing that requirement was removed 2 weeks ago," she replied. Miss Janice came in with the proper documentation to make that change. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Janice had not only taken the money without telling me, but she'd deliberately changed the account settings to do it. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This was premeditated. I tried calling Janice at work, but it went straight to voicemail. I sent her a text. "We need to talk about the $25,000 you took from our joint account. Call me as soon as you can." Then I started making calls, first to my bank, where I managed to get them to freeze the account to prevent any further withdrawals. Then to my lawyer friend, one I'd known since forever, to get some advice about my options. "Look, technically she had every right to withdraw that money once she changed the account settings," he explained. "But the fact that she did it without your knowledge or consent, that's a major breach of trust, man." Janice finally called me back during her lunch break. "Kale, I can explain," she started, her voice tense. "Please do," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "Explain why you took $25,000 from our house fund without telling me." "Kent's in trouble," she said, as if that explained everything. "He got involved with some investors for his new business venture, and things went wrong. They were threatening to sue him, maybe even press charges for fraud." "So you stole our savings to bail him out?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I didn't steal anything," she snapped. "That account is in both our names, and I'm going to pay it back. Kent promised he'd return the money as soon as his new project takes off." I had to laugh at that. His new project? Like all his other successful projects? "Janice, that was our future you just handed over to your deadbeat brother." "Don't call him that," she yelled. "He's family. What was I supposed to do? Let him get sued? Let him go to jail? Maybe let him face the consequences of his actions for once," I suggested, "instead of enabling him again. And yes, maybe you could have, I don't know, talked to me before giving away our savings." "I knew you wouldn't understand," she said quietly. "You don't know what it's like. You don't have siblings." "No, but I understand trust and respect in a relationship," I replied. "And you just showed me you have neither for me." The rest of that conversation didn't go well. Janice kept defending her actions, insisting she had no choice, that family comes first, that I was being selfish and unsupportive. When I told her I'd frozen the account, she completely lost it. "How dare you?" she screamed. "That's my money too." "Yeah, and it was my money too when you took it without asking," I pointed out. "Consider the account frozen until we figure this out." She hung up on me. When I got home that evening, Janice was waiting for me. She'd clearly been crying, but there was a defensiveness in her posture that told me she wasn't ready to admit she was wrong. "We need to talk about this rationally," she said as I walked in. "Okay," I sat down across from her. "Let's talk rationally about how you went behind my back to change our account settings, then took most of our savings without telling me, to give to your brother, who has never paid back a loan in his life. I'm all ears." "You don't understand the pressure I was under," she began. "Kent came to me crying. He said these investors were going to ruin his life. They were threatening to go to the police. He could have gone to jail, Kale." "And that would have been his problem," I said firmly. "His consequences for his actions. Instead, you made it our problem. You threw away our future to save him from his own mistakes. Again. It's not thrown away, she protested. Kent promised to pay it all back. Kent promises a lot of things, I cut her off. Has he ever followed through on any of them? How many times have you helped him over the years? How much money has he actually paid back? Janice's silence was answer enough. The money isn't even the biggest issue here, I continued. You deliberately went behind my back. You changed the account settings without telling me. You planned this, Janice. You knew I wouldn't agree, so you just did it anyway. How can I ever trust you after this? So what, you're saying you don't trust me with money? She asked, her voice rising. You want to control everything? No, I'm saying I don't trust you to be honest with me. I don't trust you to respect our agreements. I don't trust you to put our relationship first. Kent is my family, she shot back. And what am I? I asked quietly. What were we building here, Janice? Because I thought we were building a life together. I thought we were going to be family too. That hit home. I saw her face crumple slightly before she recovered. We are family, she said softly. That's why I know you'll understand once you calm down. Kent will pay us back, and everything will be fine. I shook my head. No, it won't. Even if by some miracle Kent actually pays back the money, which we both know won't happen. This isn't about the money anymore. This is about trust. This is about respect. This is about you making unilateral decisions that affect both our futures. So what are you saying? She asked, her voice trembling. I'm saying I need time to think, and I need you to really think about what you've done here, not just taking the money, but the trust you've broken. The next few days were tense. Janice slept in the guest room, and we barely spoke except when necessary. I spent a lot of time thinking about our relationship, about patterns I'd ignored, about red flags I'd dismissed. I also did some digging into Kent's latest business venture. Turns out he'd taken money from several people, promising huge returns on some vague investment scheme. When the returns didn't materialize, they'd threatened legal action. Classic Kent. A week after the initial discovery, Janice came to me with what she probably thought was good news. Kent says he can start paying us back next month, she said hopefully. He's got a new opportunity lined up that's guaranteed to have a big break. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. I don't want to hear about Kent's next sure thing. I've made a decision. She sat down heavily. What decision? I'm moving out, I said. I've already found a new apartment. I'll be gone by the end of the month. What? No, she jumped up. Kale, you can't. We can work this out. Can we? I asked. Because in the past week, have you once acknowledged that what you did was wrong? Have you shown any real remorse for betraying my trust? Or are you still just defending your actions and making promises about money we'll never see again? She opened and closed her mouth several times, but no words came out. That's what I thought, I said sadly. You still don't get it. You still think this is just about the money. Then tell me what it's about, she cried. Tell me how to fix this. It's about the fact that you don't see us as a team. When you have to choose between me and your brother, you'll choose him every time, even if it means lying to me, going behind my back, and sacrificing our future together. How can I build a life with someone like that? The next few weeks were a blur of packing, paperwork, and painful conversations. I met with a lawyer to make sure I was protecting myself legally. I documented everything about the unauthorized withdrawal and account changes. I separated all our other financial ties. Janice alternated between begging me to reconsider and accusing me of being heartless and unsupportive. Her family got involved, of course. Her parents called to tell me I was being unreasonable, that family helps family, that I should understand Janice was just trying to help her brother. You're right, I told them. Family should help family. But Janice chose which family mattered more to her, and it wasn't the family we were trying to build together. Kent had the nerve to call me himself. Look, man, he said, trying to sound sincere, I know you're upset, but I promise I'm good for the money. This new opportunity I'm working on will help all of us. Save it. I cut him off. I don't want to hear about your next big scheme. You've taken enough from me already. What's that supposed to mean? It means you didn't just take my savings, Kent. You took my relationship, my trust, my future plans, and you did it the same way you always do, by manipulating your sister and letting her clean up your messes. He started to protest, but I wasn't finished. You know what the sad part is? You'll keep doing it, and Janice will keep letting you, but I don't have to stick around and watch it happen anymore. I hung up on his sputtering response. Moving out was hard. 3 years of shared life doesn't pack up easily. Every object seemed to hold a memory. Every decision felt weighted with finality. Janice cried as I loaded the last box into my car. It doesn't have to end like this, she said through tears. We can start over, rebuild our savings. It's not about the savings, I said for what felt like the 100th time. It's about trust. It's about respect. It's about choices, and you made yours. That was 6 months ago. I'd love to tell you that Janice came to her senses, that Kent miraculously paid back the money, that we worked things out and lived happily ever after. But real life isn't a fairy tale. The last I heard, Kent's guaranteed opportunity had failed. Shocking, I know. And he was already working on his next big idea. Janice is still defending him, still helping him, still believing in him. The money is long gone, and with it, our dreams of a future together. I'm doing okay, though. My new apartment is smaller, but it's mine. I've started a new savings account, in my name only. I've even started dating again, though much more cautiously this time. Most importantly, I've learned some valuable lessons about trust, boundaries, and the importance of protecting yourself even in relationships. I've learned that love isn't enough if there isn't respect and honesty to go with it. And I've learned that sometimes the hardest choice, walking away, is also the right one. The other day, I ran into Janice's best friend at the grocery store. She told me Janice still talks about getting back together, still believes we can work things out if I'd just be more understanding about family. I just smiled and shook my head, because the truth is, I am more understanding about family now than I ever was before. I understand that family isn't just about blood relations. It's about trust, respect, and choosing each other every day. It's about building something together, not tearing it down to save someone else from their own mistakes. And sometimes understanding family means knowing when to walk away from someone who doesn't understand it the same way you do. Here are my thoughts about the story. What really got me in this story was Janice's blindness to what she was doing. Like, this woman wasn't some evil gold digger or manipulative psycho. She was just so deeply programmed by her family dynamics that she couldn't see the forest for the trees. The part where OP mentioned how Kent was the golden child who protected her when they were kids, that explained so much. She wasn't just giving away money, she was trying to pay back an emotional debt that she thought she owed. Spoiler for anyone that needs to hear it, you don't. You don't owe anybody your lifelong servitude like this, and you especially don't have the right to try and hoist that onto someone else like Janice tried to do to Kale. But here's what really messed me up. The way she changed the account settings beforehand. That wasn't a heat-of-the-moment decision. She didn't panic and grab the money when Kent came crying. She deliberately went to the bank, changed the rules, waited 2 weeks, and then took the money. That's some premeditated trust breaking right there, and it shows she knew exactly what she was doing was wrong. The irony that kills me is that by trying to save her brother from facing consequences, Janice ended up facing massive consequences herself. Lost her relationship, lost her future plans, lost her credibility, and for what? So Kent could blow through another $25K on whatever his latest scam was? I've got to give props to OP for how he handled it. He didn't blow up, didn't get revenge, didn't try to punish her. He just set boundaries and walked away when those boundaries were violated. That's some emotional maturity right there that a lot of people could learn from. But man, I can't help but wonder what's going to happen to Janice in the long run. 10 years from now, will she still be bailing Kent out? Will she look back at losing this relationship as the wake-up call she needed? Or will she just find another partner to drain dry for her brother's benefit? The saddest part? There are probably thousands of Janices out there right now, destroying their own lives to enable someone else's dysfunction. And they probably think they're being good siblings, good children, good whatever, when really they're just perpetuating a cycle of dependency that helps nobody. But anyways, guys, with this, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like the video/comment if you enjoyed it. I'll see you again tomorrow.